If you're a die-hard F1 fan, stick around till the end of the video because you're about to discover 20 incredible facts you didn't know. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. Number 1. How much does a Formula 1 car weigh? The Formula 1 cars of the new era, starting in 2022, will weigh a minimum of 795 kilograms. Over the past few decades, these single-seaters have grown in size, width, and weight due to new safety requirements. Currently, the 2022 Formula 1 cars are the heaviest in history. This makes them a bit bulkier when it comes to cornering, but their turning resistance is offset by aerodynamic downforce and power-assisted steering, making it easier to navigate corners and effortlessly brake 300 kilometers an hour on any track except Monaco. Number 2. The Indianapolis 500 and its connection to Formula 1. The legendary Indianapolis 500 race officially counted toward the Formula 1 World Championship throughout the 1950s. It wasn't until the 1960s that the ties began to loosen. Throughout its history, there have been Formula 1 drivers who have triumphed at the world's most prestigious oval. Fernando Alonso came close to winning the Indy 500 in 2017. As did Alex Palou in the 105th edition in 2021. The Spaniard finished second and battled for the win until the final lap. Number 3. 18-inch wheels. In 2022, Pirelli introduced larger tires, increasing the wheel size from 13 to 18 inches compared to previous years. The Italian brand conducted more than 10,000 hours of testing, more than 5,000 hours of simulation, developed more than 70 virtual prototypes, and accumulated more than 20,000 kilometers of testing across all teams. Due to the increased size, the drivers initially complained about visibility problems, but as with the Halo, they got used to it. Number 4. The Green Hell. The Nürburgring, nicknamed the Green Hell by three-time champion Jackie Stewart, is a long and dangerous circuit of over 22 kilometers, located in the heart of the German forest. The old Nürburgring was a mental and physical challenge for all drivers. Unfortunately, accidents were a common occurrence. It was there that Niki Lauda almost lost his life in 1976. That year marked the last edition of the Nordschleife in Formula 1. The circus returned to the Nürburgring decades later with the rebuilding of the GP version, designed for safer and more modern racing. Number 5. Max Verstappen holds the record for the fastest pit stop in history. His pit stop tire change time stands at 1.82 seconds, achieved during the 2019 Brazilian GP, a race he won. It's going to be hard to beat that record anytime soon. The 2022 tires are heavier than before, and to make matters worse, F1 introduced sensors in mid-2021 to monitor the speed of tire changes to reduce the risk if the fit doesn't work. Number 6. The hybridization of F1. In 2014, F1 entered the hybrid era. However, it was met with much criticism. Engines were slower and quieter, races became duller, and there was a lack of equality. It was also a statistical disaster, with only one team dominating until 2021, Mercedes. The superiority of the German team inflated the numbers of Lewishamilton in Formula 1. Previously, in the era of atmospheric V8 engines, the current 7-time champion was subordinate to Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. Fortunately, Ferrari and Red Bull have begun to challenge the star team in recent years, bringing excitement back to the sport and generating a new surge in viewership. Number 7. Pirelli's colorful range of tire compounds. The Italian tire maker has color-coded its different compounds to distinguish their usefulness on the track. Red is the softest compound, while white is the hardest. Yellow is the middle ground between red and white. The softer the tire, the faster it degrades. The opposite is true for hard tires. As for rain tires, green is for medium conditions, while blue is for extreme wet conditions. The latter can expel up to 30 liters of water per second at 300 kilometers an hour. Until 2018, there were ultra-hard, hyper-soft, and super-hard compounds with new color palettes. But Formula 1 simplified the rule the following year to make the races easier for viewers to follow. sticking to the standard red, yellow, and classic white. Since then, there have been 5 degrees of hardness, from hardest to softest, at each GP. Formula One uses 3 compounds based on the characteristics of each track, although the colors never change. Number 8, the curse of number 13. Formula One forbids the use of number 13 as a race number. There's also no garage with the number 13. Previously, when numbers were assigned based on the Constructors' Championship, teams avoided this number because historically, whoever used it in F1 ended up in trouble. This number saw 2 consecutive deaths in 1925 and 1926. In recent history, 4 drivers have tried this number and it didn't go well for them. Fires, retirements, failures to qualify for races. The closest case is that of Pastor Maldonado. The Venezuelan used 13 on his Lotus in the 2014 and 2015 seasons and retired from F1 with almost more retirements than points in those 2 seasons. Number 9. Avoiding pit stops. The last time we saw a pit stop was at the 2009 Brazilian GP. Since then, F1 has tried to eliminate them for a number of reasons: to reduce danger, to reduce costs, and to reduce the load on the cars. It's kind of a contradiction though, because over the past decade, these cars have been piling on the pounds. Plus, as F1 goes the way of electrification, we won't see any more horrific moments like George Staven's fire in Germany in '94, or Eddie Irvine's in Belgium in '95, or even Felipe Massa's pit lane hose adventure during the Singapore GP in '08. Number 10. What is DRS and how does it work? It's a nifty innovation that came to F1 in 2011 to spice up overtaking on the straights. It is called DRS, short for Drag Reduction System. Basically, when a driver presses the DRS button on his steering wheel, it reduces aerodynamic drag by unfolding the rear wing, giving the car a speed boost. But here's the catch: it only kicks in on straights, and only if the driver behind is within 1 second of the driver in front. DRS has added excitement and even turned some races around in the past decade, but critics say it leads to some fake-looking passes. Number 11. F1's top speed record. Valtteri Bottas is the king of this statistic. The Finn took it in 2016 during qualifying at the Azerbaijan GP. His Williams caught a draft from Max Verstappen's Red Bull on the mammoth 2 kilometers straight and clocked a whopping 378 kilometers an hour. Today, with heavier cars and more drag, it's hard to imagine anyone beating that anytime soon. But there's a catch. During some testing on a salt flat, the Bar Honda team cut off the air intake and ripped off the rear wing. The result? 413 kilometers an hour. But of course, that speed wasn't in a Grand Prix, and the car was totally set up for this one-off occasion. Number 12. The strange connection between Alonso and Verstappen. Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen share a pretty cool similarity. They both managed to topple 2 7-time champions. Alonso ended Michael Schumacher's reign in 2005, while Verstappen put the brakes on Lewis Hamilton in 2021. Funnily enough, the Red Bull driver has admitted to rocking Alonso's blue and yellow Renault in old-school video games because he felt it matched his driving style. Now they are both champions, and their post-GP embrace in Abu Dhabi is already history. Number 13. The first woman in Formula One was Maria Teresa de Filippis, a true pioneer in women's racing. She paved the way at a time when the best compliment she could get was that the only helmet she could wear was the one from the hair salon. The Italian racer competed in 5 Grand Prix races, making her debut in Monaco and finishing 10th in Belgium in 1958. Maria Teresa de Filippis drove for prestigious brands like Maserati and Porsche, inspiring more women in the decades to come. She challenged the stereotypes of a patriarchal society and left an incredibly important legacy. Maria Teresa de Filippis died in 2016 at the age of 89. Number 14. Formula One and ethanol. Formula One is committed to full sustainability by 2030. That's why today's cars use E10 fuel, which is 90% fossil fuel and 10% ethanol, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Some teams have reported a loss of performance due to this change, but there's no doubt that progress will be made in this area as the years go by. Number 15. The circuit that has hosted the most Formula One races isn't Silverstone, Spa, or Monaco. We're talking about the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the famous Temple of Speed that has hosted 71 consecutive F1 Grand Prix since 1950, the year the competition was founded. The only break was in 1980, when it was renovated and the Italian Grand Prix moved to Imola. Monza is undoubtedly the favorite meeting place of the tifosi, who always bring their Ferrari passion with them. The Italian circuit has seen great victories, but the most memorable are always those in Ferrari red. Number 16. What's ALO on Formula One cars? ALO stands for Additional Load Optimized, and it's a safety feature that was introduced in Formula One after Jules Bianchi's accident at the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix. It's a component that surrounds the driver's cockpit to protect them from flying debris, tires, and various external elements on the track. It can withstand up to 12 tons of force and is mandatory for the 2018 season. Its initially unsightly appearance was soon forgotten thanks to its effectiveness in subsequent accidents. Number 17. Drivers lose between 3 and 5 kilograms per race. Today's Formula One cars are ridiculously physically demanding. The forces constantly acting on the drivers, plus the high temperatures in the cockpit, can result in a loss of up to 15 pounds in the most demanding races, all in just 90 minutes. So if anyone tells you that F1 isn't a sport, challenge them to hop on a cart for 10 minutes and they'll feel the soreness and bruises the next day. Number 18. Why is F1 called the Big Circus? Well, because it's like a traveling family affair. At every Grand Prix, you see the same crew of drivers, engineers, bosses, organizers, suppliers, logistics people, you name it. It's like they're on a world tour, hitting each circuit like a circus rolling into town. The term Big Circus also harkens back to the days of the Roman circus, with the whole spectacle of fans filling the stands. It's a phrase that started in the 50s and is still very much alive today. Number 19. So how much juice does an F1 car have? Well, we've blown past the 1,000 horsepower mark in the last few years of the hybrid era. These V6 1.6 turbo engines are getting more and more powerful. And with the new 10-grade fuel in play, we're expecting even more oomph. Number 20. What's the price tag on one of these bad boys? If you're thinking about buying an F1 ride, you'd better start saving your pennies. Building one of these beasts will set you back nearly $10 million when you add up all the parts. The most valuable part? Definitely the engine, which can go for a cool $4 million. Then, in descending order, you've got transmissions for $500,000, exhaust and brakes for half that, and a pair of fenders, front and rear, for over $100,000 each. That's why every engine blowout or crash is a big hit for a team, especially considering the budget caps set by the bigwigs. And that's it. We bet you're just as excited as we are. So hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to find out more. See you next time.